sing you the song of my people. Hey everybody, welcome back to Crows Before Bros. My name is Lauren and I co-run this bookish channel with my best friend Randy. It has been a minute since either of us have done anything. We have just gotten finished with the busiest season of the year, which is show season. We both are involved in our dance studios productions every year, and this year we did Shrek. I'll make sure to include some photos here for your perusal. But yeah, it's just been a crazy time. We're hoping to get back to a little bit more regularity here now that it's summertime. In this video, we're going to come back to the d20 challenge that I started back in January and have been so slow at. If you watched my last solo video, you'll know that the dice picked Armada by Ernest Cline as my next d20 read. And let me tell you, it took me ages to finish it. Armada is a video gamey sci-fi novel clocking in at 355 pages. Ernest Cline is also the author of Ready Player One, which I absolutely loved when I first read it, and I also quite enjoyed the movie. So I was super excited to pick this one up. The story follows our main character, Zach Lightman, who is kind of like the classic teen who works at EB Games, basically. He's a masterful gamer by night, and by day, basically just daydreams his days away at school. One day, Zach looks out his classroom window and sees the fighter jet from his favorite video game, Armada. At first wondering if he's going mad, he soon realizes that this is reality when the government shows up at his school and scoops him up and takes him literally to the moon? ? He's informed that the Earth is facing a real threat of interplanetary war, and that Armada, among other sources of popular media like video games and movies, have been like subconsciously preparing humanity for this threat. This sounds fun, yeah? I thought so too. I'm going to keep my thoughts in this video as spoiler-free as I can in case you ventured that you would like to read it. But let me give you my gripes. Gripe 1. I think maybe Ernest Cline doesn't know how to describe things adequately without using geeky references. And while I think that can be really fun and nostalgic, I think it maybe tells me that there's some holes in his writing style. I don't need to necessarily be told that apples are shiny and red, just like Mario's hat. Like, I know that they're red. We can just say red. I feel like the obscurer, that can't be a word. I feel like the more obscure the reference is, maybe it's supposed to give you this sense of like, oh, I'm like so nerdy, I'm like in on the joke. But I think like the more obscure the reference is, the less likely it is to land. I think sometimes we can just say, she had brown hair. She had luscious brown hair. We can use like an adjective that doesn't necessarily rely on some like niche sci-fi reference from the 80s. Anyway, it got old really fast. I think that Cline does this a lot in Ready Player One as well, but I think the plot being stronger and the characters being stronger in Ready Player One had me glaze over that. Gripe 2. I think this book could have been a lot shorter. I know 355 pages is nothing when it comes to sci-fi, and I would say this is more like sci-fi light. So much of the book is setting up like, there's maybe a conspiracy going on here. Perhaps something is afoot. Surely this thing can't be a coincidence. And like we spend so much of the book doing that I actually think the twists, I say that lightly, that we see at the end don't hit as hard. I think they're maybe cheapened by all the setup, which we could have just cut. I think if there were another several rounds of edits of this book, there could have been a harder impact later on. And I say that so as to not spoil what does happen later in the book. Gripe 3. I couldn't tell you anything about any of the supporting characters. A couple weeks out of now finishing the book, really Zach is the only character that stands out for having a personality, just in general. I could maybe remember a thing or two about his manic pixie dream girl love interest, but like his friends, the people who are on this mission with him, even his late father, his mom, his manager at his game store, like I don't even remember their names. I couldn't tell you anything about them. They were literally just supporters to Zach's story. And I think that kind of does a disservice to the book. I think like if we can flesh out the characters a little bit more, I can feel the stakes a little bit more. Unfortunately, I just didn't really care. Even the relationship that's forged between Zach and Lexi, I think her name was, underdeveloped, I thought. And then lastly, I think the biggest issue for me in this book was stakes. This book was really like sci-fi light. It wasn't super serious, and it didn't feel super serious from start to finish. Even though we were facing this big threat to humanity and like life is going to end as we know it, I just was bored. I was really hyped about this read, and so I'm definitely disappointed with how it landed for me. I typically love nerdy references, and I genuinely was really, really pumped for a good sci-fi book that doesn't ask a lot of my brain. I rated this one 3 stars, and after some time away from it, I actually think I would bump it down to 2.5, which is so disappointing. If you have got any sci-fi light books that are maybe not too world buildy, not too complex, I'd be very interested to read something like that, because I have now an itch that needs to be scratched. What I was maybe looking for was something that gave me the feeling that I get watching Firefly, which is the stakes are high a lot of the time, but it is still like a little bit silly. It's quite funny. I think if the characters are really strong, that's huge for me. I want to be all in on whatever adventure they're going on because I like the characters, and that was super lacking in this book. For other books that I've been reading over the last little while, again, it's been really sleepy for me books-wise, but I will just give you the quick and dirty. I currently am reading The Once and Future Fling by Lee Heasley. I hope I'm saying that right. It is kind of a tale of matchmaking through generations. So our main character is going back into the Roaring 20s and Regency era and whatever else. I'm kind of halfway through it right now. Conceptually really cool, but I don't have an opinion yet. It is too early. I'm maybe 25% of the way through. I also just finished up Alone with You in the Ether by Olive E. Blake, and oh, so good. My favorite read so far this year, definitely. I was super disappointed with Atlas 6, so this was a leap for me, and I'm so glad that I read it. I really like it. I think it's the kind of book that you're either gonna love or really hate. A lot of the reviews are like, this is pretentious nonsense, but I quite enjoyed it. It's like a literary fiction and a romance, but it's two just like very, very fallible, mentally ill people, and their story of just like colliding, and then how that really shakes up both of their lives. Oh, the writing is just delicious, and it's like Olive E. Blake speaks about her own issues with mental illness, like in the acknowledgements, and kind of not a forward, backward, whatever the thing is at the end of the book, where the author gives you some insight into like, why did I write this? And so she's writing from her own kind of story. Oh, it hit just so good. And then I also just recently read Wildfire by Hannah Grace. I was looking for like just a cheeky little rom-com and like summer camps, hockey player. I was all in on this, and it was so cute. It delivered exactly what I wanted it to, and it's very praise heavy, if you catch my drift. So now it's time to roll the dice again and see what the next book I'm going to read will be. And now that summer's here, I've got so much more time. So the dice has already rolled a 2 and a 5. Let's roll again. Let's see what we get. 6. 6. 6 means that next I'm going to be reading Greenwich Park, which is a thriller. And honestly, I picked it up a long time ago because the cover is just super lush and gorgeous. But I love a thriller, and I'm going to the lake this weekend, which means I'll have a thrilling book to read out in the spooky lake. I can't wait. I love a thriller. I will be back to tell you how I liked it. Hopefully sooner than last time. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. We love chatting books with you, and I know we've been a little absent lately, but seriously, this is such a joy for both of us. So if you enjoy book reviews and you like our speed, you think we're fun, give us a subscribe, give us a follow, and stay tuned. Recommend some books to us. We love to read, obviously, and the summer is a little bit of an easier time for both of us. So without further ado, we'll see you next video. We love you guys so much. Goodbye.